Brooke, I want to start with JetBlue, given the tumble that it's seeing in shares today. Feels like this is a pretty large reaction. We might even say outsized reaction to the cost forecast, which was higher than anticipated. Put this in context for us, given that a couple of other airlines have reported already.
Sure. I mean, it's really just a continuation of this have and have not story in the U.S. airline landscape, where you see airlines like Delta and United that cater more toward premium flyers and have a larger international business, really sort of standing out from the pack and moving, further up the profitability curve, whereas the more domestically focused, lower cost airlines are really struggling. That's not as, a robust corner of demand for travel right now. And a lot of those airlines ended up expanding in the wake of the pandemic and are now sort of dealing with that as we have sort of a glut of overcapacity on some of these more leisure-oriented routes. And then, as JetBlue talked about today, costs are going up. And when costs are going up and you have too much capacity, that is a dangerous equation. And I think you're just really seeing investors react to the continued travails of that corner of this airline market. And JetBlue in particular is really just struggling to find its footing after its 2 attempts at consolidating with other airlines to really expand its market share failed. That's, of course, the commercial partnership with American Airlines and then its attempted merger with Spirit that was blocked on antitrust grounds.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that in mind, given that we have a new administration in the White House, of course, it seems like investors really enthusiastic about the prospect of a reinvigorated M&A market. Could we see JetBlue explore that route again, or have they just been burned too many times?
I think it might take a lot for them to jump back into the airplane consolidation game, just given their past experiences. And also, M&A is always tricky, but it's particularly tricky in airlines when you're talking about merging 2 different brands. And that's certainly something that you ideally would like to do from a position of strength. And so, I think JetBlue is probably focused right now on getting its own house in order, getting those costs down, ideally improving pricing and seeing more of, a stabilization in demand.
Well, given that shares have been so underperforming and JetBlue isn't exactly in that position of strength, Brooke, could we see them actually be a target here, or am I getting too silly?
I think, the airline industry is highly consolidated, and this enthusiasm about M&A is certainly real and valid. But I think, where you're more likely to see deals is perhaps outside of these already very highly consolidated sectors like airlines. You can look at the past precedent and the argument that antitrust advocates have made is that more consolidation is not always helpful in terms of consumer choice. And I don't know, that argument is necessarily going to resonate a lot more right now. But there's certainly a lot of opportunity for M&A in some of these other sectors. But some of these highly consolidated industries that have already seen so much M&A, it might be trickier.